Hey, my name's James Nicholson and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I want to talk about the rental crisis. We've got some updated stats and rents are staggering. I'm going to break down on a region by region basis how much rents are up. And one area, rents are up 9.7% in just 1 year. I've also got a crazy stat that will tell you how many properties have been removed from the rental market, the percentage of properties that have left the rental market since 2019. I think will shock you in this video. This is something that is a real concern for a lot of people. You've got so much stuff happening all at once that's pushing landlords out the market. And if you're a tenant, I think you really need to understand exactly what's happening. And maybe some of this stuff isn't going to benefit tenants at all. Before we jump into this video, if you're new around here and you haven't done already, do make sure you subscribe to the channel over there and hit that bell notification. We're on the way to 50,000 subscribers. And by subscribing, you'll get all the latest house price news, all the latest rental property update news, and all the latest property investor news and much, much more. And let's get some views on this video. I think this topic is very, very important. How can we do that? Simple. Smash like, tick or like, do something to that like button. That really helps with the YouTube algorithm and that's really helped the channel grow. So thanks to everyone that does that. So, the rental crisis, and it is a crisis in my opinion. A lot of landlords are leaving the market. Now, anytime I say that sort of statement, there's lots of people in the comments saying, good, landlords are scum, get rid of the landlords. But here's the problem. When you do that, you shrink the supply significantly. And that's what's happening at the moment. And when you shrink supply, when your population is growing, inevitably rents start to skyrocket. And that's been happening for quite some time now. And by rents going up, that means affordability struggles. But we've also got problems here with supply. And so in Scotland, they've got real problems with supply where a one-bedroom flat in Scotland, that might have as many as 200 people applying for that property, which is just not sustainable. You could have A1 credit, you could afford the property, and in that scenario, you just struggle to get a viewing and you also struggle to get a property, and it can be really, really frustrating. So how much is the property market down at the moment? The rental market? Well, there are 27%. Think about that. 27% less rentals now. And that's since 2019. So not even that long. 27% down. Now that's a huge problem. There are 4 or 5 million rental properties. So that's more than 1 million properties that have left the market. Now, where do those properties go? That's what some people say. They will go to first-time buyers. They will go to people that are buying residential property. Good. That's what we want. That's good for those people. But we still don't have enough for people that are ready to buy or want to buy. We need to build more properties. And while that's great that we've got some people in a property, they can own the property and have their own family home, it's not helping the rental sector, which is growing significantly. Think of all the immigration that you've got in the country. Think about people living longer. Think about people wanting to move out of cities to other areas. We just don't have enough rental stock. But you need to fix both ends of this. You need to fix the rental crisis and the affordability prices and making sure people have got residential properties to live in. So what's the average rent at the moment? That's not great either. So the average rent at the moment stands at £1,577 across the UK. That's take-home pay. Think about people that are single, that live on their own, even if they're a family. Maybe they're a family, but only one person earns because they've got children and stuff like that. It's very, very difficult to be able to afford a property if you're a rental person. So here's some interesting information as well. Demand is actually cooling. So what does that mean? So when we say demand is cooling, there are less people looking for properties at the moment. So that's dropping. So what that indicates to us is that people are staying where they want to. So they're staying in the property where they are because they're less likely to get rental increases when they stay there and build a relationship with a landlord. They can see the market is growing significantly and they can see that costs are going up. So they say, you know what, I'm going to stay where I am, even if it's not the best property for them. Maybe they're outgrown that property. Maybe they're in a 1-bedroom flat and they really need a 2-bedroom flat, but they're deciding to stay. So there's less inquiries for properties. But even with that happening, that in that normal scenario, in a normal balanced market, demand cooling would mean rents would drop. But what's also happening is supply is dropping. So what we mean by that is there is less properties available to rent. So even with demand cooling, the people that are looking to rent property, they're not faced with as many options at the moment. So there's less listings on Rightmove, but there's less people looking to rent on Rightmove as well. So let's have a look at a region by region basis, what's going on here. Now, some of these we have got the percentage that is up. Some of them we've just got the average rent. So if we look at the ones we've got just the average rent first, we've got Scotland. The average rent stands at £1,441. We've got Wales, where the average rent is £1,107, both pretty high. Now we've got ones with the percentage. So the southwest of England, the average rent there is £1,461, which is 2.1% up. So that's not too bad. That's below inflation. If we look at London, the average rent there is obviously a lot higher, £2,699, which is 2% up. So London is really tough to be able to afford a property in that area. Whatever other areas have we got? Well, let's look at the southeast. So the southeast is where I've got most of my properties. The average rent there is £1,828, and that's up 2.4% here. So a lot of these areas, they haven't gone up above inflation so far, but I've got some areas that are going to be really high. So now if we look at the northeast, in the northeast, the average rent is £918, the most affordable area in the country, 2.9% up for the year. And the most expensive place at the moment is the west. Sorry, not east, west. So the northwest, 1,278. Sorry, it's not the most expensive, it's the biggest increase. In the northwest, rents are up 9.7%, way above inflation. Huge increase in that area. And that's going to be really, really hard for people to afford those types of properties. What about rooms? Well, rooms are up as well. And the average cost for a room in an HMO across the country, this varies massively. It's more than £1,000 in London, but the average is £637. Huge increases that we're seeing here. Now, this is not sustainable, and this is really hard for people. And so a lot of people are going to end up going on social housing lists. There are some areas in London where social housing waiting is more than 30 years. If you try and get on a social housing or a council waiting list in the southeast of England, you are looking at way longer than 10 years. And that you might get put even further back than that. It's going to be very, very hard for you to get that type of property. And so this crisis is something that's going to get worse because more people are going to have to come out of the private rental sector because they just can't afford it anymore. Now, that doesn't mean that landlords will suddenly have to drop rents because there is still not enough supply. That's the big problem here. So the landlords are leaving this rental market for various reasons. One's the Renters' Rights Bill. A lot of landlords are worried about the Section 21 no-fault evictions not being able to get their property back. The massive fines that you can get for non-compliance. For example, if you don't go into the landlord database, you could get fined £10,000. And some people don't even know about that database that's coming out. So they could get fined unfairly, which would be a big problem. You've got the EPC stuff, which I was kind of hoping in the government reshuffle that Ed Miliband would leave because his stuff is very unpopular. And he survived. He was one of the only major people that survived in the government during that reshuffle. We'll see. Hasn't been much talk about the EPC stuff for a while. Supposedly it's going to be 2026. I don't think it is. I think it's going to get pushed back significantly. We'll see. Maybe we'll get some stuff in the budget on that as well. But there's a lot of uncertainty for landlords. They're vilified by the tenants. They're vilified by the media. But if you push them out, what you're seeing is that you're going to get corporate landlords that will be like BlackRock and Lloyd's TSB that will own all these properties. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the tenants won't want that, because once they've got control, rents will go up a lot faster. And if you try with these big corporate landlords to get any maintenance done, very hard. Whereas single, small-time landlords, if you've got a broken boiler, you can often get it fixed the same day. What do you think about this rental crisis? Do you think it's going to get worse? Or do you think this will eventually sort itself out? I'd like to know in the comments below. Do make sure as well that while you're here, you check out the last few days, the fundamentals of property investing. That's just £20 at the moment. £20 will teach you how to find properties below market value. There's lots of opportunities at the moment. 27% of landlords quit. They want to sell those properties. If you buy those properties in a limited company, or at least understand how to do that, you can get some really good bargains. I'll also teach you in that how to add value to those properties. New kitchens, new bathrooms, how to do that in an affordable way that you can really grow your margins and build instant equity in your property. We'll then teach you how to cash flow those properties. Is it serviced accommodation, HMOs? What's the best strategy? We teach you all of that for £20 for 100 videos. And it's really in-depth. So do make sure you check that out. I'm going to put it in the first comment. I'm going to put it in the description. So do make sure you check that out while you're here. Do also check out all the other content as well on the channel, including this video right here.